Chapter 11. The crash happened when Fly was approaching the end of the race. She was in first place. Fly flew over the finish line and started to put on her brakes. What happened next was a blur to her. All of a sudden, she felt a sharp pain in her front right leg. A young greyhound barreled into her at full speed. His 60-pound body and the inertia added to the power of the crash. The rookie was all right. He only suffered a bruise where he crashed into Fly. On the other hand, Fly was not as lucky. She limped and limped off the track. The rookie told her, "I'm so sorry, I couldn't help it. But you were kind of in the way." Fly looked back at him, wanting to yell at the inexperienced dog for trying to blame her for the accident. Fly remembered what her mother had told her and decided to forgive the trainee. "Don't worry about me. I know it was an accident and that you did not intend to hurt me," Fly said. Her voice was shaking from the pain in her body. The rookie's face changed from a smirk to a frown. He felt so sorry that he did not own up to the fact that it was him that caused the crash. Fly looked so bloody. Her upper thigh muscle looked torn. The spectators could not help but notice when Fly yelped they could see the blood that covered the front of her athletic body. It was shocking to look at. There was a sudden quiet as the slipper hooked up her collar to his lead and waited to see if she could walk on her own. Everything seemed to be in slow motion to Fly. She was cold and weak and dizzy. She felt like she was going to pass out. She felt so scared and started to shake. She wanted to throw up. She could not stop shaking. Ted was waiting for Fly's slipper to return to the holding area. Ted had seen the collision and had a concerned, serious look on his face. The lines in his forehead were deep and defined as if to make his look angry. But he was gentle when he wrapped a towel around her front leg and picked her up without a word. Ted carried her back to his truck and gently put her in her pen. He said to her, "Sit," very quietly. He closed and locked the door. Fly heard Ted walk away. Her leg stopped bleeding, but it throbbed with pain. Blood stained her beautiful soft coat. Somehow Fly managed to stop shaking and finally settle down. Fly dozed off to sleep, and thoughts began to swirl in her head. She began to feel frightened and sad. She dreamed that she was crashing into a wall and into other dogs. A cold wind blew around her. The sky was dark. She was racing on a track with mean and vicious dogs. They were snarling and barking and not wearing their muzzles. They were nipping and biting at her legs. Fly was unable to fight back. She was wearing a muzzle and wanted to run faster and faster, but she could not. It was like running in mud or slow motion. She struggled and struggled until finally she was able to pull herself free. She looked behind her and saw the dogs far away and behind. But suddenly, when she turned forward, she was facing a cliff. She could not put on her brakes. The edge came closer and closer and closer. She barked in her sleep. She abruptly woke up to the sound of Ted and the slippers bringing the other dogs to the truck. Fly felt sick to her stomach. Her nose felt dry and she began to feel her leg throb. Ted got in the driver's seat and started the truck. Fly and the other dogs could tell they were moving. Ted began the long trip back to the farm. One of the greyhounds spoke to Fly. His name was King's Ransom and he said, "How are you doing? I could tell when I got back from the holding pen that you were gone. I figured something happened to you," he added. Another dog named A Star in the Daylight said, "I'm sorry you got hurt, Fly. Don't feel bad, you'll get better in no time." Then, a dog named Such a Smart Alec piped up. His name fit his personality. He spoke as if he did not seem to care about how Fly was doing. "I did pretty great today as usual." "I'm starving," Alex snickered. Guess you won't be hungry, so there will be more for us, he continued. Stop that, Star angrily said. Fly is not feeling well and you're just nasty and mean. Maybe an injury might put you in your place, Star warned. Fly looked a little sad as she smiled back at Star and said thanks. But don't wish an injury on anybody, even your worst enemy. That wish might come back to haunt you, Fly said. Star, Ransom, and Owlet began to settle down. They stretched and yawned. While Fly was happy that they were now quiet, she was starting to feel a little hungry and looked forward to getting back to the farm. She felt that if she would just go to bed, things would be so different when she got up in the morning. Everything would be back to normal. Fly did not realize it, but what she was going through was no dream or something that would just go away after a good night's sleep. Little did she know, her life was about to drastically change.